The atmosphere inside the courtroom was thick with tension. Reporters sat shoulder to shoulder, pens in hand, cameras ready to capture even the slightest change in expression. Fans and critics outside the courthouse held up posters, some demanding justice, others pleading for mercy. For months, Sean Diddy Combs had been the center of a storm that refused to die down. Allegations, investigations, whispers of corruption, and explosive revelations had painted a picture of a man whose empire was on the brink of collapse. And then came the judge's words that would echo far beyond those courtroom walls. Mr. Combs, this court has decided to grant you one final opportunity. Consider this your last chance to prove that you can comply with the law. Any failure from this point forward will leave us with no alternative but to impose the maximum penalties. Gasps filled the room. Some believed the judge was being too lenient, others saw it as a chance for redemption. But one thing was clear: Diddy had been handed a lifeline, and what he did next would determine not only his future, but also why this moment feels like the climax of a movie. If Hollywood had written the script, it couldn't have been more dramatic. Here was a man who had once been at the very top. Chart-topping hits, multi-million-dollar business deals, red carpet appearances with the biggest stars, and a reputation for being untouchable. Yet now, he was standing in court, his reputation shredded, his empire under siege, and his freedom hanging by a thread. The phrase, "one last chance," has weight. It means the system has run out of patience. It means the safety net is gone. And it means Diddy has to choose, either rise above the chaos or sink under the weight of it. A look back. How did we get here? To understand why this moment matters so much, you have to rewind. Diddy's journey from Harlem hustler to global mogul has always been marked by controversy. He's survived industry scandals, legal disputes, and personal tragedies. Yet, no matter the challenge, he always seemed to land on his feet, until now. Over the past few years, the walls began closing in. Federal raids, lawsuits, and accusations from former associates painted an image of a man losing control. The media began to wonder, was this the downfall of a music legend? Or was Diddy just another powerful figure caught in a web of enemies, lies, and betrayal? By the time he stood in front of the judge, the narrative had shifted from speculation to reality. This wasn't about rumors anymore. This was about survival. Why the judge's decision mattered. In legal terms, a last chance isn't given lightly. It means the court sees two possibilities: either rehabilitation and compliance, or complete destruction. Diddy's lawyers had argued passionately for leniency, insisting he could turn things around if given the opportunity. Prosecutors, on the other hand, demanded stricter punishment, claiming Diddy's pattern of behavior proved he was incapable of change. The judge split the difference. The decision shocked everyone because it placed the burden entirely on Diddy's shoulders. No more excuses, no more second chances. Reactions in Diddy's face. Witnesses described his expression as a mix of relief and disbelief. For once, the man known for his confidence looked genuinely humbled. His legal team, they whispered quickly among themselves, knowing they had won a temporary victory, but that the real battle had just begun. The public, some shouted outside the courthouse, calling the decision unfair. Others said, this was exactly what justice should look like, mercy paired with accountability, the symbolism of last chance. This isn't just about Diddy. For many, it's a symbol of the way America treats its celebrities. Do the rich and powerful always get away with more, or does the law eventually catch up with everyone? The phrase last chance resonates because it speaks to something deeper, our belief in redemption versus our demand for accountability. What's next for Diddy? Now the real question hangs in the air. Will Diddy take advantage of this opportunity, or will he squander it? If he plays it smart, keeps a low profile, and focuses on repairing his image, there's a path forward. If he slips, if even one more scandal hits the headlines, then the consequences will be brutal and irreversible. For now, Diddy has been pushed into a corner. And history shows that when a man is cornered, he either fights harder than ever, or collapses under pressure. Long before the flashing cameras, the mansions, and the headlines, Sean Diddy Combs was just a kid from Harlem, with big dreams. Born in 1969, his early life wasn't filled with luxury. His father was killed when Diddy was only 2 years old, leaving his mother to raise him and his sister alone. Growing up in New York during the turbulent 1970s and 1980s, Diddy witnessed both the struggles of poverty and the intoxicating pull of ambition. From the start, he wasn't just another kid in the neighborhood, he had drive. A natural hustler, he was the kind of teenager who sold lemonade on the corner, threw block parties, and always looked for an angle. Even then, people around him could tell Diddy wasn't going to stay in the shadows for long. The hustle that defined his early years. When Diddy entered Howard University in Washington, D.C., he wasn't the best student in terms of grades, but in terms of networking and hustling, he was already miles ahead. He organized campus parties that became legendary, pulling in crowds so big that he began attracting the attention of promoters and DJs. It wasn't long before Diddy realized college wasn't where his real education would happen. It was in the streets, in the clubs, and eventually, in the recording studio. Dropping out, he landed an internship at Uptown Records. For most people, an internship was about fetching coffee and filing papers. For Diddy, it was a launchpad. He quickly rose through the ranks, bringing a fresh energy and vision to the label. He had an eye for talent, a knack for branding, and above all, an ability to create moments that felt larger than life. The birth of Bad Boy Records. After parting ways with Uptown, Diddy launched Bad Boy Entertainment in 1993. What followed changed the sound and culture of hip-hop forever. With artists like the notorious Big, Mace, Faith Evans, 112, and Total, Bad Boy wasn't just a record label, it was a movement. Diddy didn't just produce music, he produced a lifestyle. Flashy videos, shiny suits, champagne-filled parties, and the image of wealth and power became the Bad Boy brand. For young black men across America, Diddy represented possibility. He was proof that you could come from nothing and conquer everything. The untouchable. By the late 1990s and early 2000s, Diddy was at the top of the world. He wasn't just a music mogul, he was a businessman, actor, fashion designer, and global brand. Sean John, his clothing line, dominated urban fashion. His collaboration with Ciroc Vodka redefined the alcohol industry, turning a struggling brand into $1 billion. At his peak, Diddy's influence stretched far beyond music. He was a cultural architect, shaping fashion trends, dictating party scenes, and setting the tone for what success looked like. To the outside world, he was unstoppable, untouchable, and destined to reign forever. But success came with shadow. The higher you rise, the darker your shadows become. With Diddy, controversy seemed to follow every major success. The East Coast versus West Coast feud of the 1990s, which tragically claimed the lives of Tupac Shakur and the notorious B.I.G., put Diddy at the center of hip-hop's most dangerous chapter. Though he denied involvement in the violence, many critics claimed he played a role in stoking the fire. In 1999, Diddy faced one of his earliest public legal battles after a nightclub shooting in New York. Though he was acquitted of all charges, the trial damaged his image and left many questioning how deep his connections really were. Despite the scandals, he always seemed to bounce back stronger. Lawsuits, accusations, business feuds, nothing ever stuck for long. Diddy became a master of survival, spinning every setback into a comeback. The empire he built. By the time the 2010s rolled around, Diddy was no longer just a hip-hop figure, he was an institution. Forbes regularly listed him among the richest men in music, sometimes even crowning him the wealthiest in the industry. His empire stretched across multiple industries. Music, Bad Boy Entertainment remained a household name. Fashion, Sean John became a global brand, winning awards and dominating urban style. Liquor, his partnership with Ciroc turned him into the vodka king. Television, he created shows like Making the Band, cementing himself as a pop culture powerhouse. But while the world saw success, behind the scenes, enemies were multiplying, and whispers were growing loud. The illusion of invincibility. Perhaps Diddy's greatest flaw was that he began to believe his own myth. When you've dodged so many bullets, figuratively and literally, it's easy to think you're invincible. For years, he had managed to escape serious consequences, even as allegations piled. But as history has shown, no empire lasts forever. Rome fell. The great kings of old were dethroned. And in today's age of social media, #MeToo movements, and relentless investigative journalism, even the most powerful moguls are vulnerable. How this ties back to the last chant. The reason Diddy's courtroom moment hit so hard is because of this backdrop. For decades he looked like a man who could bend reality to his will. The rules didn't seem to apply to him. But when a judge tells you this is your last chance, It's a reminder that no matter how high you climb,